All right, everyone. Time for another episode of Flora Frequency, and this is going to be a good one as I am going to be debuting not just one, but two artists for the first time on Bearcast Radio here for you today. So, hey there, I'm Ben Gressle. So, let's get things started. I'm going to get the first new artist to Bearcast going here almost immediately as soon as I cover the weather. So first off, a new update from the National Weather Service. We are under a severe thunderstorm watch at this time. This watch will remain in effect until 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time tonight and includes the southern half of the Cincinnati DMA. So obviously this does not mean that that there is a severe thunderstorm happening, but it means that the ingredients are there for one to occur later on. There are thunderstorms populating the radar right now in the area, so just keep an eye out if you're out and about today. Currently, we're at 74 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Feels like 74, and we're going to be staying in the low 70s until after sunset with some rain and thunderstorm chances. A few thunderstorms may be severe, as I just said, so keep an eye out for that and take precautions as needed. And later tonight, we will be dropping down into the 50s with a nice and comfortable evening ahead. And for the rest of the week, we are looking at 70s and 80s for our daytime highs, with a drop into the 50s and 60s for next week. Looks like we might see some thunderstorms, but otherwise Easter is looking pretty good for Sunday. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get our first song going for you today. So it is finally out, Soma and their new single release, Hot Mess. They are a local grunge band here in the Cincinnati scene, and I have been really anxious to get to play this one for you all here on Flora Frequency today. So that time is finally now. So I hope you enjoy Soma and their brand new single, Hot Mess, here on Flora Frequency.
I can barely breathe.
That there was Soma blowing up our speakers here with their awesome hit, um, their awesome song there, Hot Mess, for their first spin here on Bearcast Radio. And with that, it is now time for me to make a very exciting announcement. Soma will be the next band that I am pleased to welcome to the Bearcast studio for an interview, as they are getting ready to drop their new album that song is going to be a part of, which I believe they just said is going to drop later this week. So keep an eye out and listen to that, because they have some awesome music, and I am very, very honored that I am going to have the opportunity to welcome them here to the Bearcast studio. That will be happening later this month. I will have more information on that coming here soon on all channels, both here on the air and on the Instagram. But if for those of you who really liked listening to my interview of Oh the Manatee from February, I hope you all will enjoy this one when I do it later this month. And I cannot tell you how excited I am for this next event, so this next interview event here on the show. So also speaking of, so that's that. So also speaking of Soma, they've got a couple shows coming up. Like I said last week, April 18th at Teak for the prom night show. If you show up in prom attire, you get a discounted $2 cover charge. And the other show that they're going to be doing will be on April 27th at the Comet in Northside. And then also, speaking of Oh the Manatee, they just teased something on their Instagram today about a deluxe version of their Catalyze EP coming out soon. Looks like they'll have more information on that later. So stay tuned to their Instagram for that. And if anything is announced, I will relay it accordingly. The Teak show on April 18th that Soma is playing is also going to mark Cordella's return to doing shows after a hiatus since December. And they have announced that they will have some new music lined up to play for y'all live at their shows. Love the kind of jazzy sound the rock jazzy sound that they kind of have going there. And yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one, but I kind of worried that I might have a time conflict, because I got another formal event that I have to be at that evening as well for a student org that I'm with. So we'll see if we can make it work. The band Sock is also returning to shows after a similar hiatus this Friday. So it'll be good to see Cara Rosebrook and her iconic voice back with that band since their last show back in December. And her other band, Juno Harlot, also just announced 2 new shows. These will be at Swell on April 11th and on the 25th at Chemtopia. And then come say hi to me tonight at Murphy's. Limelight will be playing there tonight at 9, free entry, provided that you have a valid ID to prove that you are 21 and up. And they will also be playing in Dayton on Friday in the Oregon District's Yellow Cab Tavern to promote Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Tickets are now on sale through Cincy Ticket, and persons 16 years and up can enter or under without or with a parent or guardian present. Speaking of Sophie Stockton and Cassavet, the two of them, well, Sophie's the lead singer of Cassavet, but she's also doing a solo show on the same bill along with Mariana at a charity show in Columbus this Saturday, April 4th, for the Brickyard 2026 Alternative Music and Clothing Charity Festival. So if you are in Columbus or any of my friends and peeps up there, you may want to go check them out. That looks to be a good show. Sophie's also going to be on the bill for a show tonight at Max on McMillan, where she will be playing with Zolomon's Wolfgang as they have their new music release show tonight, as they're calling it a Howl Off. And will also feature Les Juliets and Slippers, with the latter being the resident band at Max. Then Sophie is also still welcoming donations for her series of out-of-town concerts that she is doing with Mariana this summer. So any little bit helps, especially with the rising costs of gas, because they are DIYing the whole thing. they're just taking a van and going out and playing shows. Sounds like a pretty cool experience. But personally, though, I don't see myself moving in a van that well because I'd get car sick, and I also like to have a proper place to sleep. But hey, honestly, I think as a musician that would be a cool opportunity to write some new songs about the experience too. So I think she's gonna have a really creative experience. Me personally with this instead of just or in addition to just being a bunch of shows. So we got that coming up to look forward to. So if you're in any of the cities that she's gonna be hitting, definitely go check them out. And then also Battle of the Bands is still happening, same time and date, that being April 11th at 6:30. The venue will be announced to all ticket holders the day before. Tickets are available by presale online or for $5 plus fees, as well as $10 at the door the day of. Although, come to Music Club and support us, and you will get your ticket for $5 flat, fees waived. So come join us at Music Club. So much fun. It's a great time. Come to our meetings. We have one more before BOTB, so please come and you'll get discounted. You'll get the fees waived. So yeah. So that's going to be an awesome show. Same lineup. So yeah, and next week I plan to air some of the songs from the participating bands to promote it as well. And then I think another house show venue that recently was announced to have closed, Chad House, might be doing another show here. They might be doing one more show at the end of the UC spring semester, so keep an eye out for that. And then Packalooza, or the Pack Night of Music the other night, was amazing. I got connected with a couple local artists that I personally had not been familiar with prior to that event. And I told them that I do this show here on Bearcast, and there were a couple songs of theirs that they played at the event that I really enjoyed, and they're on Spotify. I mean, they have a proper release, and they're on Spotify and other streaming platforms. So I told them that I was going to play their songs here on Flora Frequency today. So I got 2 songs as heard at PAX Night of Music that I will be playing here on the show today. These will be coming up here later in the hour. But other than that, it was an amazing event. I really loved it, save for the freak fire alarm in the Tangent University Center right at the beginning of the event. And it was like, who the hell knows what that was for. But anyway, so that's what we got in the music scene for this week. So yeah, get out to some shows, listen to some new music releases, and yeah, great stuff coming up. But in the meantime, I want to keep my promise that I made on the air last week and play Radiohead's Black Star as covered by Golf Lamp, including at their show at Fishbowl back on September 6th of 2025. So you heard My Iron Lung last week. That it was a hard decision to play either that or Black Star last week. I chose My Iron Lung last week, so I'm going to make it even and play Black Star this week. So this is Radiohead and Black Star here on Flora Frequency. Hope you enjoy.
Introducing what are we coming to? What are we gonna do? Troubled words of a troubled mind. I try to understand what is eating you. I try to stay awake, but it's 50 hours since that I last slept with you. But are we coming to just a train and I just stand about now that I don't think of you. I keep falling over, I keep passing out when I see a face like you. But I'm coming to
That was Radiohead and Black Star here on Flora Frequency. That is part of the continuation of my Fishbowl appreciation playlist for what all has come out of that venue. And it was always such a treat to get to see Golf Lamp covering that song back during that era when they were out jamming across town. And I remember there was a part in that song that lead singer Sophie Stockton and the other band member Wyatt Telosco, who was also a very talented vocalist, would do a duet on, and it was just so neat to watch it. So yeah, so definitely kind of a nice throwback to a very nice era there of different, or to a very nice era there of such a great band full of awesome talent, and it's so nice to see what they're all up to now with their other bands and their future endeavors. So this is Flora Frequency with Ben Gressle, and I have a bit of a correction to make. So Soma's new album actually drops on April 17th. It looks like, yeah, on the 17th, yes. The new release that's dropping later this week is a new single titled Juniper, which obviously that's more new music by Soma, and I will play that on the air next week because it'll be out by then. So please tune in for Juniper next week. I cannot wait to play it. So anyway, we've got some nice horticulture / environmental events coming up here soon, here in the UC scene and in the area. So first off, as I mentioned on the show last week, the Bearcat Pantry Garden over on Fishwick Drive, right off I-75 at Town Street in Bond Hill, is going to be happening this Friday, April 3rd, from 10 to noon. The address is 5121 Fishwick Drive. This is a UC-owned surplus facility where the university store stuff in this big building, and the garden itself is behind the building. So if you're going, for reference, when you pull in the gates, you're going to want to make a right, drive around the building, and you'll see the garden plots in the ground back behind the building, and that's where we will be meeting up. I will be there the whole time. It is a volunteer event. Go and register for it on the Center for Community Engagement's website, volunteer.uc.edu. And while registration is not required, it is heavily encouraged for this event so that they kind of know what they want to know just how many people to expect. So please register if you can, and I hope to see you there. I think it'll be a good time, but do note that this event will be going on rain or shine. So make sure you are dressed appropriately for the weather and you plan accordingly if you plan to attend. In addition, Horticulture Department Chair here at UC, Brian Grubb, just recently announced 2 upcoming what I call forest immersion events that are being hosted through the university. The first is going to be an overnight camping outing the night of next Friday, April 10th, overnight into early Saturday morning, April 11th. This will be taking place at the UC Center for Field Studies, located at 11053 Oxford Road in Harrison, Ohio. This is right before you cross into Indiana off 74 for reference, and this is the official field station for the University of Cincinnati. This, if you plan to participate in that, there is a $5 registration fee to rent equipment from the UC Mountaineering Club. Well, it's specifically for the organizers to rent the equipment from Mountaineering Club so that they can provide it to the participants. And yeah, they'll be learning how to camp in the wilderness in a setting that basically feels like you're out in the wilderness, because that's where we kind of start getting into the more exurby feel heading west out of Cincinnati. Then on April 15th, there will be a walk, just a nice kind of mindful walk through Burnett Woods. No hiking experience required. Just bring your comfortable shoes and your curiosity, and it should be a nice event. I plan to be at the second one. Clean Up Cincy, which I just participated in their first trash pickup event of the semester this past Saturday. They will be hosting their next volunteer event on April 18th. Registration is already live for that, so if you want to participate, you can go ahead and do so. Service hours are available through that if needed. Lastly, Cincinnati's Earth Day Celebration Festival, which is a huge thing in this city, will be happening on April 19th at Washington Park in Over the Rhine. And the Green Jobs Summit will also be taking place there. So if you're like me, looking for career opportunities in the green industry, I'm going to be down there. You should definitely come join me and check it out. I think it's going to be a great time and a great experience. So with that being said, now on to the next song, which will be the first of 2 songs performed live at PAX Night of Music back on Monday. And this is going to also be what I believe will be a first spin for this artist here on Bearcast Radio. And this is the local pop musician Safa and her track Original Sin. This is from the EP Righteous Lamb, and like I said, this is one that was played the other night that she performed live here on campus for PAX Night of Music, and I personally really like this one. So here it is for what I believe is the first time on Bearcast, Safa and Original Sin here on Flora Frequency. Hope you enjoy.
Original sin, guess there's nothing to I know you're dead, but can you please cut me loose? I put my faith in someone else and he changed, so I think I'd rather keep this flood in the gate. Like we're the only 2 people on earth. If you tell our story backwards, it's creation for sure. Only 2 people on earth. If you promises left undelivered in this land. I need to get a little God in my hand. Can't walk around it with your name in the sand. So if you wanna hit me where it hurts, take instructions from a serpent, but it's my name you curse. Only two people on earth. If you tell our story backwards, it's creation for sure. Creation for sure. Only two people on earth. Only two people on earth. If you tell our story backwards, it's creation for sure. Only two people on earth. If you tell our story backwards, it's creation for sure. If there's original sin, guess there's nothing to lose.
That was, I believe, for her first time having her music played on Bearcast. That was Cincinnati's glitch pop angel Safa and her track Original Sin here on Flora Frequency with Ben Gressle. As I stated previously, I heard her for the first time the other night at PAX Night of Music and thought it was a really great show. Not just her, but also the next artist that I'm going to be playing here in just a second. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about a neat experience that I had over spring break that I kind of touched on last episode, but didn't really get around to for the sake of time. But basically, so basically, in every state, the state governor has like an official residence that they live in. It's kind of like the White House of your state. And here in Ohio, the governor's residence is literally just kind of a nice residence here in or it's basically just in a residential neighborhood in like an upscale part of the Columbus area. Specifically, it's in the Bexley suburb in the historic Malcolm Jeffries house. And I really wanted to see the residence because it also, not just because of the residence itself, but it also features an amazing heritage garden that's actually a nationally recognized heritage garden. And my outside volunteer organization, the Anderson Township Historical Society, went there back in September. They took a little field trip to the site back then, and it was ultimately, I wanted to go. They invited me to come, but I couldn't make it because my class schedule interfered with it. But I really wanted to go because I mean, with my horticultural knowledge, I wanted to go check this out. And I didn't even know that it was available for tours until I heard from my colleagues in that organization that it was. So I took the opportunity to go up over spring break, and it was an amazing tour. But because I like to talk about plants here on the show, I definitely want to mention that the Heritage Garden was amazing. I mean, there was a nice food garden out there where they were growing vegetables, herbs, and all sorts of stuff. And it took me back to when I was kind of an herb grower myself at our house, and I did an herb garden with my dad at our in our backyard, and I loved crushing up the leaves and smelling all the different smells, and it was just so neat. So yeah, that was kind of a nice throwback. I think I mentioned last week that I saw an apple tree on the property in the backyard, which is the Heritage Garden, that was one of the last cuttings planted by Johnny Appleseed, who is a prominent figure in Ohio history. And that was still there, standing strong and true, and it looked to be in good health for a tree. So that was neat. I also saw recreations of like flora environments throughout different parts of the state. Like they had a northern Ohio garden inspired off of the shores of Lake Erie, which I don't really go there that much. I think the last time I was on Lake Erie was more than 10 years ago. And then there was the eastern prickly pear, which is like our only native cactus to here. And yes, it is actually a cactus, and it's edible, believe it or not. And then, yeah, the cactus pears, I think, come off of that. And then there was also a recreation of a cranberry bog, which was my first time ever seeing cranberries growing on the plant ever. And it was really cool. And it was in water, and it was just like in a little container in the back of the governor's residence. And I asked the docent, I was like, are there any of these even left in Ohio? And she said, yeah, but there's not that many left. It's kind of an endangered ecosystem here in our state. So that was a really cool experience, and I really was excited to come back here on the Flora Frequency to talk about it here on the show and share that with you. But unfortunately, I kind of ran out of time to do it last week, so I wanted to elaborate more in depth with you here today. So with that, now on to the next song, which this is another song that I heard at PAX Night of Music, or Packalooza, which this one is by the artist Bearcast, who is from Cincinnati and was originally playing here, but I think she's since kind of relocated to Los Angeles, but she came back into town, or was in town, and stopped by UC to put on an amazing show. And she played a particular song on her set that I really, really loved hearing, and I thought it sounded really good. And when I heard it, I was like, this is like radio gold. I think this needs to be on Bearcast on the show. So I was like asking around, like, what's that song? What's that song? And then I found out, and I was like, well, is it released? Is it something that I can play? And it turns out it is. So I've been waiting since PAX Night of Music to come in here to this studio and play this for you all on air here on Flora Frequency. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and play that song right now. So without further ado, here is Bearcast and For You here on Flora Frequency.
Now every dream I had looks the same, twisted
All right, that was Bershey and For You here on Flora Frequency on Bearcast Radio. I'm Ben Gressle, and I was just once again taking a look at some of the weather stuff popping up on my. Well, first off, once again that both of those last two songs were performed live here on campus the other night, so definitely glad to share those here on the show here on Bearcast. So anyway, um. So I was just taking a look at the weather, and it looks like we are actually in store for a lot of rain this week. Yeah. So one the thing that is popping up on the studio computer here from the little weather crawl at the bottom was saying that we might see an inch of rain has fallen by at least the start of the day on Sunday for the Easter holiday. So yeah, that's an awful lot of rain. And um, speaking of PAX event, that kind of is a throwback because and something I want to talk about here because it really does mean a lot to me. Um, so when I went to that event the other night, it really was personally kind of a full circle moment for me as not just as a host here, but as just someone who's been really involved and I feel really instrumental here in the local scene because it was almost exactly 1 year ago today that I went to one of their similar events here on campus. And the reason I tied the rain with that because it reminded me that basically they were supposed to do an original event that was going to be outdoors, but we were literally seeing a biblical deluge here in Cincinnati that week. I mean, we saw more rain in just 1 week than we would get over the course of like a month or two during that week. So ultimately they had to cancel that outdoor event and retool it into an indoor event called which was an amazing time called UC Underground. And it was through that event that I got to meet the band Limelight, who I am going to see here tonight at Murphy's at 9 o'clock. Hope to see you there. And I also play their music here on Flora Frequency quite often. And and it was through them, and it was just casual conversation that with the members at that one pack event. And you never know just how far something as little as that can take you, and that's true for anything in life with anything, whether that be your career path, your social scene, no matter what. Because from there, I started following them first to last year's Battle of the Bands, and then I caught, and then I kind of stepped back from the scene for a little bit for the end of last spring semester because I was getting just inundated with schoolwork and a capstone project and a kind of nasty professor, and it was definitely a very hard semester last spring because not only that, but I was dealing with some personal stuff as well, both here at UC and in my home life. That it was definitely that was probably my hardest semester at UC so far. And once that was finally over, I got to join Limelight to see them at another house show. And on the last day of school, and it was just so much fun. And then I followed them to the next show, and through that I met Golf Lamp, and I started becoming one of their diehard supporters since day one. And through that I ended up meeting all the other bands that I follow, and then I came back here to UC for the fall semester, and I stumbled upon, or I didn't stumble, I saw Bearcast Media at the student involvement fair over at Nippert in late August, and I was like, I think I want to know them, because at first I actually didn't know that just any student could do this. I mean, I thought that this was like you had to be like a CCM major or a certain major in arts and sciences, and this was like part of a class or something. But no, any student could do this, and I was like, great. How do I get involved? And I got involved, and I've made such an amazing community here in Bearcast as well. And I mean, technically, I've wanted to host a radio show. I mean, I thought about it ever since like high school. I had envisioned myself as a personality, and a media personality, and it was like, um, and it was like, this is not only me achieving those dreams of being a radio personality, but I came into this last summer with such a budding community in the music scene. I'm like, I think I could probably give these artists a voice, a voice that not only is just general promoting their music to the whole UC scene, whether they go to house shows or bar shows or not, but also possibly beyond UC. And I mean, some of these people, I'd love to see them become really famous someday. And I just wanna help in any way that I can, because it's just such a great community. And going to PAX event the other night was just full circle, because it was like, it was almost exactly that last year that was where was where this all started. And this couldn't mean more to me than, I mean, this means just so much to me. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of like my second career in a way, along with my horticulturally driven community planning pathway. But even those two, they intertwine. I mean, I'm doing community planning with what I do with the music scene in a way, and I'm putting on my hat with that to try and figure out ways to help these artists find places to go perform, and also to maybe even promote shows in green spaces with green and blue infrastructure. So it's like, I really see a lot of potential for my future path here, and I just want to share that with everybody. So yeah, so I really did want to take a moment to talk about that here on the air today. So anyway, the next song I got for you all here is another request by Boston Craig, the owner of the Fishbowl himself. So thank you, Boston, for sending this in. And I wanted to play this as part of the appreciation playlist last week, but unfortunately time did not allow for me to do so. But this is Santeria by Sublime. I have heard this one on the commercial radio many times before, but Boston specifically requested this as it was covered at Fishbowl by Trophy Wives on the show at the show on September 6th. So Trophy Wives is a local band. I believe they've got some shows going on in the area, so maybe go check them out. But anyway, for now, here is Sublime and Santeria here on Flora Frequency.
rates.
All right, that was Santeria by Sublime, requested as it was covered by Trophy Wives, the local band at Fishbowl back in September. And I believe, speaking of Sublime, I believe they've got some newer songs out that I've heard on FM over the past couple years. So yeah, the alt rock stations are playing their stuff. So always good to hear some new stuff coming on the scene, both locally and nationally. This is Flora Frequency. I'm Ben Gressle, and we are coming down to the final few minutes of my hour. And if for those of you who may have been listening last week, I think we've got a new show that has just started recently that starts up after mine. And I believe it features some really awesome DJ music. So that'll probably be starting up here in less than 10 minutes. And until then, you get to hear some of my forward thinking about what I'm going to be doing plant-wise this year, because, today is April 1st, so we are kind of in the definitive central part of spring, for lack of a better term, and that means that in less than a month from now, or a little over a month from now, I meant, because as the famous grandma saying is in our line of work in horticulture, you don't plant your plants until after Mother's Day because of the frost danger, because if you plant like your annuals and whatnot, it can kill your plants. They'll freeze and die. So, and then you've just wasted all your money at the garden center. So anyway, but that's going to be coming up here before we know it. And my outside volunteer organization, the Anderson Township Historical Society, will be once again hosting their annual plant sale at the Miller Lizer Log House and Research Center on Clough Pike in Anderson Township, just about a 20 to 25 minute drive east of downtown Cincinnati. So we've got great plants at great costs, and it all supports a great cause. And if we're going to be having it there, we will also likely have the historic 1796 log house open for tours. We had, I think, almost 70 people tour the house last year. So that was a record for our organization. So let's get out there and break it this year. Let's have 80, or more. But anyway, that'll be my first round of plant shopping for the year, as it always is, and yeah, I'll get my first round of plants there. Definitely got to make my annual run or two or three to Natorps, Cincinnati's place for plants up in Mason. That place is such an amazing place. They also do landscaping services too, and but if you go into the nursery outlet, which I believe just opened for the spring season, it's like a candy store for horticulturalists and gardeners like myself. I just get lost in there, and I come home with a trunk load, or a hatchback load, I meant specifically, because I drive a Versa hatchback full of plants, and it's just a really amazing time of year to get all that going. It's like a blank canvas on my back patio, and I fill it up with flowers, and I think I did really good last year, so I want to build on that momentum this year. So what I'll probably do is I might even ask for some audience input later this month before the end of the season, and I'll maybe put a poll out on Instagram or do like something on the Instagram, asking for y'all, like, what do you like? What do you think I should garden? What do you think I should grow this year? And feel free to reach out to me. So I'll probably get that together here later before the end of season 2, and yeah, I will definitely take your advice and plant with it and post it to Instagram when I'll post the finished product to the Flora Frequency Instagram, and y'all can see it. So to finish off for this week, I've got the final song on the Fishbowl Appreciation playlist that I intended to play last week but ran out of time to do so. So this was also requested by Boston. So once again, thank you very much, Boston, for sharing your tastes in music with me and your requests, as well as for what you do and have done so far for the music scene. So as played by this band themselves at Fishbowl, this is a local artist. Here is Blue Baby and TV art here on Flora Frequency to end things off for this week. And as always, take care of yourself, prioritize your mental health and self-care, and I will be back with you same time, same place next week here on Flora Frequency on Bearcast Radio. Have a great week and peace.